Good morning. It is an honor for me to be here with you under this beautiful sky, this beautiful community, at this beautiful school, on this beautiful new field that Mr. Trejo is so proud of, with all of these beautiful people. As Diana said, we have the choice and the opportunity and the responsibility right now to find ourselves, for this country, for the rest of the world. And looking at you, I cannot be more proud of the way that we have chosen to do this. I want to thank Mr. Beto and the staff here for welcoming us, hosting us, and making this possible. I want to thank Dr. Martinez, Superintendent of the Independent School District, the trustees for their leadership here today, but also the other night at Horizon, where we paid tribute to a life lost to this community, to this country, and gave that community an opportunity to come together and mourn together and celebrate that life together. I want to thank the Student Council and the leadership here on this campus, Diana, who introduced me, Natalie, who helped to organize and lead this memorial at this moment, and each of you for making El Paso so proud. I was born and raised in this community and have developed a fierce pride in who we are and what we represent to the rest of the world. I tell stories to my fellow Americans to help illustrate El Paso's contributions to the national story. You may or may not know, for example, the story of 1949 Food Bears, Los Osos Orgullosos. That was the year that the state of Texas decided it would have the first boys high school baseball championship. It would be hosted in Austin, Texas, where the championship game would be played. And those kids at the high school, in the Segundo Barrio, every one of them Mexican-American, led by Coach Nemo Herrera, though they did not have the money to buy uniforms, and their parents had to make them, though they could not even afford to buy baseballs and gloves, and literally made what they needed to play with out of the scrap materials in their homes and in their communities. They won the city championship, they won the regional championship, and each of them boarded a bus to Austin to go play in the state championship. Now along the way, they stopped at restaurants, tried to stay at motels, and were greeted by signs that said, "No dogs or Mexicans allowed." Though they were U.S. citizens, born and raised in this country, every bit as American as anyone else alive at that time in America, though their older brothers had fought in World War II, many of them later known as the men from Company E, who crossed the Rio Rapido in Italy to their deaths, bringing distinction and honor back to their families, back to their community, back to their country. Those team members were treated like second-class citizens in their own country. In fact, the night before that championship game, they slept under the bleachers, just like those that you're sitting on right now, next to the field upon which they would play. And that next day, they played their hearts out, won that game, came back to El Paso, Texas, helping to define our community, helping to define our state, helping to define our country for the better. El Paso, this community, a leader nationally on making sure that our differences do not define us or disqualify us and are not seen as dangerous, but instead the very source of our strength, the foundation of our success, and yes, also our safety and our security. Not even 10 years later, 1957, this community becomes the first in the United States to elect a Mexican-American as mayor, Raymond Tejas, 1957. And the leadership on civil rights issues for El Paso, for Texas, for this country would continue. The first city in the former Confederacy to desegregate our places of public accommodation came right here in El Paso, Texas. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the president at the time, would specifically call out this community as an example for the rest of the country. And I tell my fellow Americans that the reason that we are one of, if not the safest cities in the United States right now, is not despite the fact that we are a city of immigrants and asylum seekers and refugees from the world over. In fact, because we are immigrants, asylum seekers, and refugees from the world over, because the people of the planet have found a home here in El Paso, Texas, that is what has made us so safe. As one of my friends reminds me, si queremos asegurar nuestra comunidad, nuestro país, necesitamos tratar cada persona con respeto y dignidad. And we do that here in El Paso. No matter how exceptional we may be, no matter how special we are, when we remember that with Ciudad Juarez, we form the largest binational community in the Western Hemisphere. 3 million from 2 countries, joined, not separated by the Rio River, something far greater, more powerful than the sum of our parts or the number of people involved. So far away from the centers of power in Chihuahua or Austin or Mexico City or Washington, D.C. Despite that unique relationship, despite that distance, we are part of a country that is violent. We are part of a country that has failed to adopt legislation that would prevent people from owning the kinds of weapons that were used against us on Saturday. We live in a country where some will try to define us by our differences, and they'll say that those differences are dangerous. They'll warn of invasions and infestations. They'll try to build walls to keep the rest of the world out. They'll talk about people as being less than human and then treat them as less than human. We cannot accept ourselves, separate ourselves from this country of which we are a part. And at some point, sooner or later, these challenges would find us. And they did on Saturday, when someone drove more than 600 miles to bring racism and hatred and intolerance and violence to this community, to take the lives of 22 people from El Paso and Ciudad Juarez. But as Diana said, that will not define us. And it will not only be our history that I just recounted to you that will define us. It will be you, it will be all of us, that have the chance to define us at this moment. The courageous first responders who rushed to the scene, the heroes on the ground in Walmart who did everything they could to save the lives of their fellow human beings, running towards, not away from the gunfire and the killer. Those who took care of the victims at Del Sol and University Medical Center, the doctors, the nurses, the frontline staff, the janitors and the custodians who cleaned up the blood and got that trauma bay ready for the next victim that was being rolled in. Everyone who's come to any vigil, any one of you who's donated blood, everyone who is praying for and thinking about those families to strengthen them and fortify them and ensure that they're resilient now and in the days to come. You are defining El Paso at this moment. And we will not be made afraid. We will not change who we are. We will not renounce what is so special about this community. Instead, we stand up to be counted, to share with one another and the rest of the country just who we are and the pride that we have and what we represent for an America that has never been more divided or more highly polarized. This community, which has been able to come together, can serve as the example, not just for how El Paso and Ciudad Juarez recovers from this tragedy, but perhaps how this country sets a path forward that brings everybody in, does not allow our differences to divide us or define us or to keep us from the greatness which is ours if we will only pursue it. Last night, I took my family to the memorial just outside of the Walmart. Some of you may have been there. 22 crosses that have been set up, each of them draped in, drenched in flowers, in rosaries, in handwritten cards, and notes. Our children brought paper flowers that they had made at home to place on each one of the crosses. And around us, people from this community, people from Las Cruces, people from Ciudad Juarez, people who had driven in hundreds of miles away to pay their respects to us, to our families, to this community, to what we represent. And as I was leaving, a young woman came up to me and she said, "Beto, I don't know if you remember me, but I play with mariachis who had performed at one of your events." And I said, well, tell me how you're doing and tell me how your fellow mariachis are doing. And she said, "We've decided not to play anymore. We feel that being out in public, performing with the pride of who we are and our culture and where we come from, has unfortunately made us a target at this moment. And we're afraid. What you are doing today, the conversation you are forcing this country to have, the laws that you will ensure that we change, the hatred and fear of one another that will be met with a hope that we invest in one another, a fear of the future that is changed into a courage about what we can do for one another in the days ahead. That is how we meet her fear right now. That's how we make it better for all of us. So I just want you to know that I am so proud of you, school, leadership, of every single one of you, at this moment where you're making a conscious choice to define Paso, to define this country for the better, for every single one of us. Thank you for having me out here today, and thank you for what you're doing. Gracias.
Student representatives, as I yell out the victim, please release one balloon at a time. May their memories be a blessing. May their families and loved ones find peace. In honor of the victims, we will be releasing 22 balloons at this time, one by one. These are Andre Antonio, Jordan Antonio, Arturo Benavides, Leonard Santos, Maria Flores, Raúl Flores, Jorge García, Adolfo Hernández, Alexander Hoffman, David Johnson, Luis Juarez, María Regadera, Elsa Márquez, Maribel Loya, Iván Manzano, Gloria Márquez, Margie Bertner, Sarah Moriet, Teresa Sanchez, Angelina Alzi, Juan Velasquez, and from our own Kansas District family, the police release the rest of them. At this time,